Primetime local news, serving the Lakeland and Midwest regions.
Here in the border city, the Lloydminster Chamber of Commerce held 2 all-candidates forums last night at Lakeland College. Here's a look at what took place at the Battleford's Lloydminster Forum. The candidates running to be the next Member of Parliament for Battleford's Lloydminster faced off in a virtual forum hosted by the Chamber of Commerce. When talking about the pandemic, the Maverick Party's Ken Rutherford and the PPC's Terry Sieben spoke about the negative effects of lockdowns.
There's a lot of big box stores that were allowed to stay open through that and made money like they'd never made before. And a lot of mom and pop shops were closed and hard. So I'm against it.
It's all that comes down to government and big business. They're taking our rights away. You know, we have our charters of rights, our human rights, and the government does not listen to that.
While Liberal candidate Larry Ingram touted the Liberal government's COVID-19 response.
The small businesses kept running on the small loans. The service kept a lot of people living good and surviving.
The NDP's Eric Hansen says vaccine passports are the best way to deal with the 4th wave.
Do the vaccine passports so that at least business can stay in business.
The Conservatives' Rosemary Falk criticized the Liberals' pandemic response and highlighted the work she's done in opposition.
Canada's Conservatives do not support vaccine passports, and we do not support mandatory vaccinations. And we need to make sure that provinces have the tools that they need. The federal government's job is to make sure that they procure enough tools for the tool belts.
The candidate shared why they would be the best person to stand up for the riding in Parliament.
For me, I don't have to appease anybody except for the people I serve. So how would I represent the West? I'd talk to the people. And I'd take my marching orders from the people in our constituents. It's that easy.
We have to start taxing the top. They're paying not their fair share.
I've been able to bring a rural lens to the committee that I sit on, letting people know that, you know, what it's like here in Battleford's Lloydminster isn't like that in Toronto.
As a federal liberal, I think it'd be great if we actually had a voice from the Battleford's Lloydminster.
And I met lots of you, and I understand the concerns and share your feelings.
When it comes to the carbon tax, Ken Rutherford and Rosemary Falk butted heads over if Conservative leader Erin O'Toole would force MPs to tout the party line in Ottawa.
They get told that they're gone from the caucus if they don't 100% support the climate change. If we don't want the carbon tax, you should phone me and tell me you don't like the carbon tax. It should not go to a phone call to Erin O'Toole in Ottawa to find out how we should vote.
Erin O'Toole has said he'd work with the provinces. He understands that you need to have good working relationships with the premiers, and he would respect and honor Scott Moe's plan. So I'd appreciate it if you stopped telling people that I support a carbon tax, because that's a lie.
The Green Party's Kerry Wall did not attend the forum. For Primetime Local News, I'm Jace Mackey. The second forum of the night was for the Lakeland riding, with some of the topics including COVID-19, the budget, and climate change. Here's Jasmine King.
The forum was attended by all candidates in the riding except for the Green Party. The virtual forum allowed viewers from many places in the Lakeland riding to tune in and ask questions. One of the first discussions of the night was on vaccines and a vaccine passport, with the right-wing parties having similar views.
Conservatives have made it clear we are opposed to mandatory vaccine passports for cross-country travel because there are multiple options like daily rapid testing.
We're going to fire Dr. Town for the flip-flop decisions that she has made.
But if you are able to get vaccinated, it is incredibly important that you do so for the safety of your community. We have eradicated polio and smallpox through vaccinations.
Healthcare workers are under siege in the ICUs. They're at the breaking point. They've sacrificed everything they can, and it's about time that Canadians realize that they have to make some personal sacrifices.
The fact of the passports is getting stronger and stronger to the place where what they're really doing is bullying people into having to take that vaccine.
Another topic faced, which is a big part of the Lakeland riding, is the oil and gas industry and its future, as well as climate change in the country. NDP candidate Des Bissonnette and Maverick candidate Fred Surrett had opposite opinions.
We work to diversify our economy and become leaders in energy, but we must move away ultimately from fossil fuels. Fossil fuels are contributing the largest amount when it comes to energy to the climate crisis.
It's not the oil and gas industry that's the problem in the carbon imprint and the GHG. It's the end user.
The budget was another question posed to candidates. Anne McCormick of the People's Party of Canada added how her party will save costs. Conservative candidate Shannon Stubbs says her party plans to balance the budget if elected, while the candidate for the Liberal Party, John Turvey, defended his party's decisions during the pandemic.
It is a priority for the Conservative government to balance the budget and get rid of the deficit, just as the former Conservative government did.
They gave out CERB, they gave it out directly. They knew that there would be millions of dollars lost by people taking advantage and taking funding that they did not qualify for.
I think one of the things that Canada could do immediately is to pull out of UN obligations. Our carbon tax chases business out.
The election takes place September 20th. Jasmine King, Primetime Local News.
In a little more than 2 weeks' time, Canada will recognize the victims and survivors of residential schools with the National Day for Truth and Reconciliation. To honor the day, Lloydminster Home Hardware is running a fundraiser. Kate Laycraft has the details.
Taking the time out of her day to sit and chat about Home Hardware's upcoming Orange Shirt Day fundraiser is co-owner Tasha Hilderman. Thanks so much for doing this, Tasha.
Thanks for having me.
So Orange Shirt Day, which is now officially recognized by the Canadian government as the National Day for Truth and Reconciliation, is coming up on September 30th. And you guys have teamed up with a local Indigenous artist to create these t-shirts and sell them off in an effort to raise some funds and also awareness. Could you just give people a little bit of a breakdown on your operation here?
Sure. So Orange Shirt Day was started in 2013 in Williams Lake, BC, as a way to raise awareness of residential schools. And September 30th was chosen because that's traditionally the time of year when Native children were taken away from their parents to go to residential schools. And it's also an ideal time of year for children in schools now to start the year off with an anti-racism and anti-bullying message. So with the events in Canada this past year, with all of the graves being found, Orange Shirt Day is now being really brought to a bigger awareness. It was kind of in the schools for a couple of years. And so if you had school children, you were aware of it. But a lot of adults weren't aware of what had been happening with this Orange Shirt Day awareness campaign. So this year, we really wanted to help bring attention to it for adults and for children in the store. And so we worked with Levi Wolf, who is a local Indigenous artist. He's from Onion Lake Cree Nation. And so he designed the shirt. I'm wearing it right now. And so he picked the buffalo because it's significant to us as a plains region. The buffalo is obviously very important. It's a very emblematic symbol of the First Nations and Métis people from our region. And the shirts we are selling for $20, and $5 from each shirt is going directly to the Indian Residential School Survivors Society. And so what that society does is provide support for people who were members of a residential school or for the generational trauma that was then passed down through the lines to people who had parents or grandparents who were in residential schools. So for us, we have them available online, we have them available in store, and we're really trying to have the community as a whole be able to recognize their support behind the people who went through these experiences by wearing an orange shirt on September 30th.
And how did you guys come into contact with Levi then? How did that start?
Yeah, so I reached out to the Native Friendship Center and said, do you guys, we want to do this project. It's very important to us that the artist is Indigenous. And that has been an issue with other Orange Shirt Day projects across the country, that they're not using an Indigenous artist. So it was very important to me from the very beginning to find an Indigenous artist. And I spoke with Bonnie at the Native Friendship Center, and she's like, yeah, we have Levi. Levi's a great artist. And so Levi and I met in the elders room at the Native Friendship Center and just kind of went over what our goals were and what some of our ideas were. And the elders room in the Native Friendship Center actually has a lot of buffalo art on the wall. So we were surrounded by these buffalo, and he's like, what do you think about a buffalo? I was like, yeah, it's giving me shivers. Like, I think this is a message from everything. And so we worked for a couple of weeks on that. He sent me some design ideas, and then we wanted to get them printed locally as well. The Orange Shirt Day Society out of Williams Lake, BC also sells orange shirts, but everything is based in BC. So we wanted to kind of support local. So that's an important mission of ours as well. So ours were printed locally, and we're just thrilled with the result. And orange shirts are hard to come by in Canada right now because so many people are supporting it, which is great, but it was an issue trying to source orange shirts. And luckily we were able to get some, and the project took off.
And on that note, I also saw that you guys have a pre-order for the shirt available right now.
So because there was some sizing issues, right now we have some sizes in stock. The rest of our sizes will be in stock this week. So it's still listing pre-order because some sizes we didn't have available, but now we do. So we have everything from a youth small to youth extra large and adult small to adult 3X. So we've got as much as we could in the biggest range. And we've actually had some orders from Ontario. We've had some orders coming from St. Paul and other Lethbridge and other places in the province. So that's great too.
Thanks so much for doing this, Tasha.
It was a fairly nice day weather-wise here in the border city. With more, here's Shelby Clark.
Thanks so much, Jason. Now, taking a first look at your weather forecast for here in the border city, yes, I agree. It was a warmer day here in the border city with 20 degrees right now that we're sitting at with a mix of some sun and clouds. We are seeing a lot more sunnier day today, but as we go through the forecast, it will be cooling down quite a bit. So I hope everybody went out and enjoyed that nice weather while they can. Now taking a look at temperatures across the region for Alberta and Saskatchewan. Lac La Biche is at 20 degrees as well as Bonnyville. 21 degrees in most other places here, while Cold Lake and Vegreville a bit warmer. They're at 22 degrees. Vermillion is at 19, while Wainwright and Provost are at 21. Now over on the Saskatchewan side here, Isla Cross is a bit cooler at 19 degrees. Green Lake, Meadow Lake, and Pearson and St. Walburg are all at 20 degrees. St. Walburg actually soars at 19 degrees. Maidstone and Macklin are a bit warmer at 20, 22, and North Battleford is at 21. But speaking of North Battleford, overnight they will be going down to a low of 10 degrees, so a bit warmer tonight than we were seeing the night before, but they will be seeing a little bit more clouds in sight, while tomorrow they will be warming up quite a bit there, just to a high of 15 degrees with a mix of some sun and cloud. Now in Cold Lake overnight, they'll be going down to a low of 9 degrees with a lot more cloudier skies. But tomorrow they will be seeing a high chance of some precipitation tomorrow with a high of 15 degrees as well, with a little bit more sun peeking behind those clouds there. But now taking a look at the school day forecast for here in the border city for kids out there, it will be starting off with a high of 9 degrees as they head to school. So a little bit cooler there. So make sure all the kids are wearing a nice cool jacket there just in case. Recess and lunchtime will be around 11 degrees where they go out and enjoy the weather there. But tomorrow it will be the warmest there with a high of 14 by the time they are out of school heading home. And now taking a look at our 3-day forecast for here in the border city. Wednesday we'll be seeing a high of 14, so a little bit cooler there on Wednesday with a low of 8 degrees with a mix of sun and cloud. But Thursday we will be seeing our coolest there with a high of 9 degrees, and we'll be seeing around a 60% chance of some precipitation. And Friday we will be seeing a high of 15 with a lot more cloud coverage and a low of actually -1. That's the first look at your weather forecast. We'll have more news coming up after the break.
An event for people to explore different cultures in their community is coming up at the end of the month. We chatted with one of the organizers for more details on the Vermillion Multicultural Festival.
I'm speaking with Tigra Lee Campbell about the Vermillion Multicultural Festival coming up on September 25th, and we're doing a recap of what residents can expect with this event. Now, has any plans changed since we last spoke?
Nothing has changed yet. We've had a couple more confirmations of performers and vendors, so that's really exciting. But the dates are still the same, September 25th and 26th. The 25th is more so geared towards performances, the vendors, the food, and more food. And we're also going to have like a kids area too with face painting, hopscotch, and things like that. Sunday is more geared towards truth and reconciliation. So we have a couple speakers at noon that will be speaking on the TRC, what it means to them, how we can get involved, what the calls to actions are, and why it's important to move forward in a spirit of truth and reconciliation. And that will be followed by a Kairos blanket exercise, which is going to be facilitated by our friend Kevin and his sister.
And for people that may have missed our last interview and are unaware of this event, can you explain on what this festival is all about?
Yes. Okay, so this festival is a multicultural event. We got a grant approval through the Alberta Culture Days grant. Yeah, so we just wanted to really highlight the diversity of Vermillion. Did I say Lloydminster before? Highlight the diversity and the multiculturalism of Vermillion, and that's why we're putting this together.
And how has the planning process been for VFest throughout the summer?
The planning process, it started off a little bit rocky. It's a lot better now that we have more of a clear idea of what our COVID mandates are going to be. We've had a few people, like multiple people from the community reach out to us and wanting to perform and wanting to be vendors. So that was really exciting to see people come together. That's exactly what we wanted, right? To bring the community together. So it's working out exactly as how we planned it.
Could you expand more on any safety protocols in place with regulations just for COVID-19?
So right now in Alberta, the mandate is to be masked inside. So masks will be available, hand sanitizer will be available. Obviously, if you are sick at all, have any sort of cough, sniffles, please stay home. And also social distancing is also extremely encouraged.
What has support been like with residents for VFest so far?
We've had a lot of great support coming out of the community. A lot of folks are just as excited as we are to see how the event is going to play out. Like I said, we've had multiple people reach out to perform, to bring food, to be a vendor. So yeah, we're very, very excited.
For people wanting to find more information about this event that may not know much about it, is there a place online they can look?
So there's multiple avenues. We have our website, Lloydminster Vermillion for Equity.com. We also have our Facebook page, which is Lloydminster and Vermillion for Equity. That's our group. But we have a page dedicated to Vermillion Culture Fest, and it's exactly as it's called, Vermillion Culture Fest, and it's a page and anyone can go on there right now. We've started posting who our performers are going to be, who our vendors are going to be. We have a couple posters with all the information, location, date, times, everything.
Perfect. Well, thanks so much for joining us today, Tiggerly.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me, Shelby.
And now here's a look at today's stock market prices.
Today's oil prices are brought to you by First General Services.
Welcome back. The federal election is less than a week away, and we sat down with local candidates to ask them about their agricultural platforms. Jillian Code has their answers.
Today on Primetime Local News is the second of a three-part series discussing agricultural-related topics with local federal election candidates. Today, I have the pleasure of being joined by the remaining Lakeland candidate, Shannon Stubbs, with the Conservative Party. I'm also joined by Rosemary Falk, who is the Conservative candidate for the Battleford's Lloydminster riding. My first question for these candidates is about exports. So Alberta, Saskatchewan, and Canada overall, agricultural industry saw a rise in exports over the past year during the pandemic when most other industries saw a sharp decline in exports. My question is, what will you and your party do to ensure that the agricultural industry still plays a really key role in post-pandemic economic growth?
one of the key things that Conservatives will do is actually appoint a Minister of Rural Affairs so that rural issues and the challenges facing farmers and farm families are front and center directly at the decision-making table. Instead of policy decisions being made based on, as I think often is seen, ideology or urban-based policymakers or politicians, those decisions have to be based on science and evidence. And as Conservatives have a strong track record of doing, we will advocate for continued and expanded export opportunities, the fight against the country of origin labeling to protect Canadian producers and competitiveness globally. And we know that there's a lot of work the federal government does need to do on ensuring that there's adequate labor for farming and for the agriculture sector. And of course, overall, we've got to make it more sustainable and viable for farmers and farm families to be able to sustain their own operations and compete globally. So Conservatives, of course, will, as always, look for ways to reduce costs, reduce taxes, and reduce red tape for Canadian agricultural producers, which are the best in the world.
Our agriculture sector is an economic powerhouse, and we know our farmers contribute safe, high quality foods to Canada and also the world. There's tremendous growth opportunity for our farmers, and unleashing the potential of all economic sectors, including our agricultural sector, is critical to our Conservative Canada Recovery Plan. And we need to ensure that government is helping to ensure that farming remains viable. I hear that time and time again. We also need to make sure that it's competitive and more predictable. Our Conservative plan commits to opening new market access for our grain, our livestock, and also our oil seed producers. We will do that by developing strategic partnerships with countries that respect Canadian interests. That's so important. And deeper ties with countries like India, for example, as part of our Indo-Pacific strategy. And we will also work towards greater harmonization of farm product regulations with our trading partners, especially the United States. And this will help ensure that Canadian farmers are competing on a level playing field.
My second question is very open-ended. It's, what do you believe is the most pressing issue in the agricultural industry, and what do you and your party propose to solve this issue?
I think the real major issue that elected representatives need to grapple with and focus on is ensuring the long-term viability and sustainability of the agriculture sector, and particularly of farm families. It's a heartbreaking thing to hear farmers say they don't necessarily want to encourage their kids to get into farming, or their kids don't want to get into farming, and to hear young people who want to get into agriculture but can't afford to or can't begin possibly to be able to get set up and actually pursue that way of life in this important economic contributor to the whole country. So that is why, again, I think on those issues, Conservatives have to focus on lowering taxes. As you know, we have an initiative to remove the carbon tax for farm fuels and propane and natural gas. We want to fix the tax system so that it's equally attractive for people to be able to sell their farms to relatives rather than tilted right now in favor of, selling to strangers, and all the ways in which we can lower costs and make it viable for family farms to be passed on and for new people to get into the industry.
Our farmers need greater market access. They need to be able to get their products to markets, and they need more stability. And they need workers across all skill levels, which is why we're committed to working with industry to develop a labor strategy. One specific example, Jillian, on how the Trudeau government has failed to listen to our farmers is the carbon tax. The carbon tax has been a massive hit on the profit margin for our farmers. And it is a tax that punishes our farmers while also failing to recognize the environmental contributions that farmers already do, for example, with their zero tillage and the carbon they're able to sequester. And so to secure the long-term viability of our agriculture sector and to ensure food security, farming needs to be a viable livelihood and have a government that listens genuinely to them and, most importantly, follows up with action.
My remaining interviews with the Battleford's Lloydminster candidates will run this Friday in preparation for the election on September 20th. If you are looking for the interviews with the other Lakeland candidates, that video will be on our YouTube page.
And now here are your agricultural prices for today. Ahead of the team's Friday night season opener, the Lloydminster Bobcats have announced their leadership group. The team will be captained by 20-year-old forward Chad McLean. McLean has played 112 AJHL games, 58 of them with the Bobcats. The group will be rounded out by 2020 assistant Ben Bygrove, defenseman Tegan Skyhard, and Tyson Kowalczuk, and forwards Javen Leslie and Tanner Finkarek. And now here's Shelby Clark with another look at your weather forecast.
Thanks so much, Jason. Now taking a second look at your weather forecast here, we'll be starting off with taking a look at temperatures across central Alberta and Saskatchewan here. Alberta, Athabasca, is at 19 degrees. Whitecourt is at 17, while Jasper is a bit cooler there at that 13-degree mark. Rocky Mountain House is at 18, while Edson is at 16 degrees, and Edmonton and Red Deer at 21 and 20 degrees. Now over on this end here, most places are at that 20-degree mark, while North Battleford and Saskatoon are a bit warmer at 21 and 23 degrees. But as we look at our northern region of our provinces, they are a bit cooler here. Uranium City and Stony Rapids are at 14 and 16 degrees. Wollaston Lake is at 14 as well, while South End and Flin Flon are at 15 and 17, and La Ronge, La Loche, and Buffalo Narrows are at that 18 and 19 mark. Grand Prairie is seeing 16 degrees. Peace River and High Level are a bit cooler at 14. Slave Lake is at 17 degrees, while Fort Chipon and Fort McMurray are at 18 and 19 degrees. And now as we take a look at our southern region of the provinces, they are a bit warmer in most places in the mid-20s range. Lethbridge is at 24 degrees, and Medicine Hat is at 22. Coronation is at 21, and Banff and Calgary a bit cooler at 16 and 19. Yorkton is at 20 degrees. Kindersley and Moose Jaw and Esteban are a bit warmer at 22, and Swift Current and Regina are at 21 degrees. And now as we take a look back across the region at temperatures overnight, they are warming up just a couple degrees warmer than what we were seeing the nights before. Meadow Lake, Provost, Paradise Hill will be seeing a low of 8 degrees tonight. Isla Cross will be seeing the warmest, as well as in Unity with a low of 10 degrees. Pearson will be seeing a low of 9 degrees, as well as in Bonnyville, and Murnum and Wainwright will be seeing a low of 7 degrees. But most places will be seeing more cloudier skies and clear skies tonight, while Murnum will be seeing a high chance of some showers overnight tonight, and it will be a bit warmer temperatures than what we were seeing before, as I was saying. But tomorrow we will be cooling down quite a bit across the region, ranging from around 14 to 15 degrees in most places, as you can see. So expect to being a bit cooler as we are here in the border city throughout the rest of this week. And now taking a look at our 7-day forecast for here in the border city. Wednesday we'll be seeing a high of 14 degrees and a low of 8 degrees, and we will be seeing a chance of some showers on Wednesday there, with a mix of some sun and cloud. Thursday we'll be seeing our coolest day of the week with a high of 9 degrees and a 60% chance of some showers on Thursday. And Friday we'll be starting off this weekend a bit cooler there, with a high of 15 on Friday with a lot more cloudier skies. And we'll actually be seeing a low of -1 on Friday. So we are moving into those minus temperatures for our lows here as we're moving into the fall season. Saturday we'll be seeing a high of 18 with a mix of some sun and cloud. Probably our warmest day we'll be seeing on the weekend. Sunday we'll be ending off a bit cooler with a high of 13 with a lot more clouds in sight. And Monday we'll be starting off next week with a high of 15 with around a 80% chance of some precipitation to start off next week. And Tuesday we will be seeing a high of 16 degrees with a mix of sun and cloud. That's the second look at your weather forecast. We'll have more news coming up after the break. Welcome back. For the second year in a row, a popular Vancouver attraction will not be scaring visitors. It's not because of COVID. As Global's Grace Key shows us, there is a 4-legged threat inside Vancouver's Crown Jewel, which has prompted the park board to take action.
Aggressive coyotes have stopped the Stanley Park Ghost Train in its tracks. The popular Halloween attraction is yet another hit for park users after coyotes have attacked 45 people since December 2020.
With the risk of the coyotes right now, we've had the coyotes around the train for years. They've been present. You know, staff see them all the time, but we're just seeing different behavior right now, and so we're just not able to move forward. So disappointed, but public safety has to be the top priority.
Efforts continue to reset the park so humans and coyotes can coexist. Out of 280 garbage bins, 7 new wildlife-resistant containers have been installed in strategic areas. Donated by the province, this is a pilot project. It will cost more to empty the bins. It's unclear how much, and will people use them?
We'll be looking at other styles that may be easier to empty, may work better for our situation. We also don't know how the public will respond. This is fairly common in provincial and national parks, but this very urban park, we hope that people open and make sure it's inside. If people are leaving garbage beside, then we haven't succeeded in our goal.
The Ministry of Forests, responsible for wildlife management, plans to cull up to 35 coyotes, but those numbers could be fewer than originally thought. Trapping programs could take a couple of weeks. To date, 4 coyotes have been euthanized. None were removed over the weekend. 1 was observed near a trap site.
So these wildlife-proof bins are just one part of a wider strategy within Stanley Park. Hundreds of signs like that one with respect to education, but also feeding bylaw, and we're working with the province right now to really look at this situation within Stanley Park.
Stanley Park is closed to non-essential access from 7 p.m. to 9 a.m. All trails remain closed. As for the Bright Nights Christmas train, that is expected to continue this year. Grace Key, Global News.
And now it's time to take a look at your pet pad picks. Thank you to everyone who sent in their pictures this week, and we will be picking a winner at the end of the second hour on Friday.
We want to see your pets. Send photos of your pet and their name to our Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram to have them featured on Pet of the Day. Your name will be entered into a weekly draw for a gift certificate from the Pet Pad.
Welcome everybody to this week's edition of Pet Project. I'm joined once again with Becca Lawrence from the Lloydminster Community District SPCA. How are we doing this week, Becca?
We're doing really good. How are you?
We're doing great over here. So, this cat has been sitting nice and pretty in the entire off-camera chat that we're having.
Yeah.
So let's talk about her a little bit. So sweet. What's her name? Tell us a little bit about her personality.
Yeah, so this little cutie here is Jenny. So she, just like most of the others, came in as a stray. So she's been hanging out for a little bit until she got her 2 vaccines, and now she's all good to go. She's spayed and ready to find her new adventure. She's quite outgoing. She's pretty active, obviously, and she's actually quite affectionate and cuddly. So I mean, normally it's a bit of a running joke here that every tortie cat that we have coming in here has a bit of tortitude. And I mean, if you consider her trying not to be on camera right now, tortitude, I would agree. But but other than that, she is quite affectionate and just loves any person that comes into counter with her. Absolutely loves her, and she loves them. So yeah, she's really just looking for any type of home. I think, obviously a dog, I think she'd be scared of initially, but as long as they like her, I think she'd get along quite well. And but yeah, other than that, we think she would work in any home environment.
Yeah, she does seem like she would make a great starter cat, so to speak, for anybody out there. And I know you did mention, the dogs, and I know that oftentimes if you manage to slowly, introduce them to each other, they tend to, open up a little bit more. And if you're really particular about it, you definitely can make friends out of, 2 different species for sure. Beautiful. Yeah. So Becca, you guys, you have an event coming up with PetSmart here this week. So why don't we chat a little bit about that?
Yeah, it's basically our very first event since COVID happened. It's kind of funny. The last adoption event we had was at PetSmart, and now the very first one's going to be at PetSmart again too. So we're really excited to be back out there with the community and having an adoption event again. So we're basically going to be setting up shop at PetSmart on Friday from 4 to 7 p.m. and then this Saturday the 18th from 1 until 4 as well. So we're going to try and load up on cats and kittens and try to find them their forever homes this weekend.
So that's a great opportunity, obviously, for anybody who wants to see a variety of cats and kitties, and certainly that will be a lot of fun. I know PetSmart has always been a really good ally for you guys and, helping host events and things like that. So that certainly will be a very fun event for you guys coming up here. And we talked about it last week, and so we won't go too much into depth about it, but you guys do have another fundraiser going on right now with Domino's, which is really super neat, and you guys are selling coupon books. So real quick, let's just remind people in case they didn't see last week what they're missing out on.
Yes, we have the coupon booklets that have a bunch of deals and everything on them. There's even a free pizza listed on there, and it's $22 cash. And we get $10 from every coupon booklet sold. So it's a really good fundraiser for us. And it's just one of those small little ones we have on the side that we really appreciate. And if you want a coupon booklet, then come on down to the SPCA and you can purchase one here today.
Yeah, and it's honestly a really great deal. I looked at it and, if you're the type of person who, you like to order pizza every week or two or what have you, for maybe poker night or for the kids or what have you, this thing just pays for itself, almost right away. And then obviously a portion of those proceeds go to the SPCA. So you get to eat pizza and feel good about it, which is, a very rare occurrence. So beautiful. Well, that's unfortunately all the time we have today, Becca, but real quick before we go, I always like to ask, is there any physical item donations? I know you guys are rightful right now, in case anybody didn't know, the SPCA, rightful of cats, rightful of dogs. So is there anything people could do to help out, maybe drop off some supplies or something? Anything you want to put out there for the community?
Yeah, absolutely. Like they were packed full, like a can of sardines right now. So wet dog food is a big one. We have some puppies in right now that are going through it quite quickly, and wet and dry cat and kitten food as well too. So that's something that we're going through quite fast, especially kitten food. These little guys eat more than you think. So so we are going through it quite quickly, and then we're sending it again. Like I always say, we're sending it out to our fosters as well. So we go through it quite quickly.
There you go. So anybody, if you're stopping by the, the pet store, what have you, Walmart, you see some animal food on sale, maybe grab an extra bag for the SPCA. And also, if you've been looking for a pet, obviously now is the time. There's tons of options. You could stop in, you can see all of them. You can bring home exactly what you like. So once again, unfortunately, that's all the time we have, Becca. Thank you for joining us, and thank you, Jenna, for saying bye and for stopping by. So we will speak with you guys again next week. Thank you so much.
Yes, for sure. We'll see you next week. Thank you.
Manage your waste and recyclables with Quick Pick Waste Disposal. 100% locally owned and proud to serve and support the communities we call home. Quick Pick, the convenient solution to avoid pollution.
Today, I'm joined by Susan Nedekov-Anderson, the Assistant Deputy Minister of Education, to discuss this year's Youth Council. So to start, what exactly is the Youth Council?
Sure. The Provincial Youth Council is a brand new group of 12 students from across the province that will come together to talk about education from their perspective. They'll be able to provide information to the Minister of Education as well as the Ministry of Education.
And so what sort of topics does the Youth Council take on in education?
They will have a variety of topics upon which they will discuss. Those topics will be determined once we meet with the Youth Council. We haven't had a chance to meet with them yet.
Why do you think organizations like this Youth Council are so important?
Well, the youth in Saskatchewan are the future leaders in Saskatchewan, and so it's really important to have their voice. They'll bring their own perspectives, their own experiences to the table. And, our decisions in education impact them right now directly. They are the students in the school. And so it's important to hear their opinions about education.
How did this group initially originate?
This is the third year that we've had a provincial youth council, but each year it's a new group of youth. So this will be the first time that these 12 students selected this year will come together. Their school divisions nominate a number of students, and those nominations are sent into the Ministry of Education for selection. And then the 12 youth that were announced today will be able to participate in this year's Youth Council.
What are some of the goals of the Youth Council?
It's really hard to know where the youth will decide to go, because they are coming from all, different parts of the province. They are bringing their own lived experiences to the conversation. So it's hard to predict what they feel will be important in terms of their perspectives on education.
Why do you think organizations like this Youth Council are so important?
Yeah, it's, being able to connect with the youth across the provinces is really important to us as a Ministry of Education and to the Minister of Education. It's important to hear their voice, because as they are, those who are in school right now, they are future leaders in the province. This is a great opportunity for them to develop their leadership skills and to not only provide the adults in the room with their opinions, but also it's an opportunity for the 12 youth to get to know each other and start to learn from each other as well.
What are some of the responsibilities of the group?
Yes, we're really looking forward to finally meeting with the youth. That's going to be an exciting day. We'll be having meetings throughout the course of this school year with the youth, and once we determine their areas that are of interest to them, we'll be working with them either in an online environment or an in-person environment so that they have a chance to offer their opinions on various topics. They'll have a chance to take what they've learned from the meetings and go back to their schools and their school divisions and talk to their peers there as well, to share what they've learned and to talk to their peers about what they think should be presented when they meet the next time.
Thank you so much for joining us for Primetime Local News. Our second hour continues next on CITL.